In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. By the dawn.
Commentary. This surah, by swearing 5 oaths in its beginning, emphasizes the following fact. Surely your Lord is ever on the watch. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 14. This means that Allah is watching over whatever you do, and reward or punishment for your deeds is certain and inevitable. The first among the 5 oaths sworn at the beginning is Fajr, dawn. It may refer to the dawn of every day that brings about a great change in the world, and thus directs man's attention to the absolute omnipotence of Allah. It is also possible that it refers to the dawn of some specific day. Commentators like Ibn Abbas and Ibn Zubair, may Allah be pleased with him, say that the word is general, and it refers to any dawn. According to another narration of Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, it refers to the dawn of the first of Muharram, which is the start of the lunar Islamic calendar. Sayyid Qatada, among others, has interpreted it in the same way. Some commentators, like Mujahid and Ikrimah, refer this to the dawn of the day of sacrifice on the 10th of Dhul-Hijjah. A narration from Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, concurs with this view. The reason for this specification is that according to Islamic principles, Allah has made a night to precede the day. All days are preceded by their respective nights, except the day of sacrifice, because the night that precedes the day of sacrifice is not the night of sacrifice. In fact, the preceding night, according to Sharia, is the night of Arafah. Saying Arafat is the most important and foremost rite of Hajj. If a pilgrim is not able to reach Arafat on the 9th of Dhul-Hijjah, any time in the day or in the night following it, to halt there for a while, he will not be considered to have performed Hajj at all. However, if he arrives there any time during the night before the break of dawn on the 10th of Dhul-Hijjah, his halt in Arafah will be acceptable and his Hajj will be considered valid. This shows that the day of Arafah has 2 nights, one preceding it and another following it. The day of sacrifice, 10th of Dhul-Hijjah, has no night. From this point of view, the dawn of the day of sacrifice, among all the days of the year, occupies a special position. Put to by.
And by the 10 nights.
Next it says, and by the 10 nights. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 2, according to Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, Qatada, Mujahid, Sadi, Dahak, Kalbi, and other leading commentators, the 10 nights refers to the first 10 nights of Dhul-Hijjah. It is recorded in Hadith that the Holy Prophet said that the first 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah are the most meritorious days for Allah's worship. Every fast of the day is equivalent to fast of the whole year. Worshipping Allah every night during this period is equivalent to worshipping Him on the night of Qadr. Transmitted by Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah, with a weak chain of authorities from Abu Hurairah Majari. Abu Aziz Ubair narrated from Sayyidina Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Holy Prophet said, I swear by the dawn, and by the 10 nights refers to the first 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, said that these are the 10 nights that are mentioned in the story of Prophet Musa. Then we supplemented them with 10 Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 142. Thus these are the 10 nights in the whole year which are most meritorious. Imam Qurtubi says that the hadith reported by Sayyidina Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, indicates that the 10 nights of Dhul-Hijjah are most meritorious, and that the same 10 nights of Dhul-Hijjah were designated for Prophet Musa.
And by the even number and the odd.
And by the even and the odd. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 3. The Quran has not specified what the words the even and the odd refer to. Therefore, the commentators have assigned different interpretations to them. Nevertheless, it has been mentioned in a prophetic hadith narrated by Abu Aziz Ubair from Sayyidina Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, thus, Fajr refers to the dawn, and the 10 nights refer to the first 10 nights of Dhul-Hijjah, which include the day of sacrifice, and that Al-Watr, the odd, refers to the day of Arafah because it falls on the 9th, and Ash-Shaf refers to the day of sacrifice because it falls on the 10th day of Dhul-Hijjah. Qurtubi cites this narration and confirms that its chain of authorities is more authentic than the other tradition narrated by Sayyidina Imran ibn Hussein, may Allah be pleased with him, which talks about odd 3 and even 2 to 4 units of prayers. Therefore, Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, Ikrimah, and Nahas have preferred the view that even refers to the day of sacrifice, and odd refers to the day of Arafah. Some commentators like Ibn Sirin, Masruq, Abu Sali, and Kahana said that even refers to the entire creation, because Allah has created them in pairs, And thus he says, and from everything we have created a pair of two kinds. Surah Ad-Dariyat, Ayah 49. Belief, disbelief, happiness, unhappiness, light, darkness, night, holy, faith, earth, human, sin, and male, female is against all of these pairs. Allah is the only one being aught that does not have a pair. He is Allah, the one, is sought of all, meeting none. And by the night when it moves away. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 4. The word Yasr is derived from Sarah and means to walk in the night or travel by night. The verse says when the night itself moves away. It signifies when the night departs and goes away. After taking oath by these 5 items, the next verse says, is there not in that an oath enough for a man of sense? Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 5. An intelligent person is, in a very special style, invited to think and reflect. The word hair literally denotes to prevent. The intellect has been called hair because it prevents the person from doing which is unbecoming of him actions or statements. Are these oaths not sufficient for a man possessed of intellect, sound reasoning, understanding, and religious discernment? This sentence is in the form of interrogation to awaken man from his slumber. The subject of oaths is implied, though not stated explicitly. The verse purports to say that when man considers into the majesty of Allah and reflects on the greatness of objects of oaths, it would be confirmed and verified that everyone has to give account of his deeds, and reward and punishment in the hereafter is sure. In this connection, reference is made to the destruction of 3 previous nations, 1 the nation of Ad, 2 the nation of Thamud, and 3 the nation of Pharaoh, the Pharaoh. Ad and Thamud are 2 nations whose genealogy link up with Iram. Thus Iram may refer to both Ad as well as Thamud. Here, however, with Ad only the name Iram is linked for genealogical reasons. Have you not seen how your Lord dealt with the people Ad of Iram, the men of tall pillars? Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 6-7. The word Iram in Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 7 is, grammatically speaking, either afban, synthetic explicative, or battle, complement. The purpose of the construction is to specify one of the 2 tribes of Ad. This statement specifies that it refers to Ad al-Ula, the early generation of Ad. A remnant from the former generation is referred to as Ad al-Akra, because they are linked with their great-grandfather Iram more closely than Ad al-Akra. Here the Quran refers to the first tribe as Ad Iram. In Surah An-Najm, they are described as the earlier Ad. Surah An-Najm, Ayah 50.
And by the night when it passes.
See Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 3, for the Tafsir.
Is there not in all that an oath sufficient for one of perception?
See Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 3, for the Tafsir.
Have you not considered how your Lord dealt with Ad?
See Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 3, for the Tafsir.
With Iram, who had lofty pillars.
They are introduced here by the epithet, the men of tall pillars. The word Aman and Ammon means pillar. The people of Ad are mentioned as the men of tall pillars because they were very tall in stature. They were a stronger and more powerful people than any other nations. The Quran describes them explicitly, thus the like of whom were never created in the lands. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayat 8. The Quran made it clear that this nation was the tallest and the strongest in their physical stature, but the Quran did not state the exact measurement of the people because it was unnecessary for Quranic purposes. Therefore, that detail has been left out. Israelite traditions, however, narrate such incredible reports about their stature, height, and power that are difficult to believe. It is reported from Say, Ibn Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, and Muqatil, that they were 6 yards or 18 feet tall. This too seems to be derived from Israelite reports. And Allah knows best. Some commentators say that Iram is the name of the paradise which Ad's son Shaddad had built. The epithet, a possessor of tall pillars, translated above as men of tall pillars, is used for him. The so-called paradise was a lofty structure standing on tall pillars built with gold and silver and studded with jewels, gems, and other precious stones, so that people may prefer an instant and ready-at-hand paradise instead of paradise of the hereafter. When this magnificent palace was ready for use, and Shaddad, together with the leaders of his kingdom, wanted to enter, divine punishment overtook them. They, together with the palaces, were completely destroyed. Quatubai. In this interpretation, the verse refers to a specific punishment which descended upon the paradise built by Ad's son Shaddad. In the first interpretation, which the majority of the commentators prefer, it refers to all the punishments that descended upon the nation of Ad,
the likes of whom had never been created in the land.
See Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 7, for the Tafsir.
And with Thamud, who carved out the rocks in the valley.
See Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 7, for the Tafsir.
And with Pharaoh, owner of the stakes.
And with Pharaoh the Pharaoh, the man of the stakes. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 10. The word Atad is the plural of Watad, that means peg or stake or nail. Pharaoh the Pharaoh is referred to as the man of the stakes. There are several reasons for this. Majority of the commentators hold the view that he was so called because of the brute torture and cruel torment he inflicted on the people. When he was angry with people, he would hammer stakes into the ground and tie them to these, so that they could be tortured, or he would hammer stakes into their hands and feet as they lay on the ground in the scorching heat of the sun, and leave them to the mercy of snakes and scorpions. Other commentators have recounted a lengthy story about his wife Asiya. She embraced a man, the true faith, and expressed it to Pharaoh the Pharaoh. This angered him, and he inflicted on her the same type of brute torture and destroyed her. Mashari.
All of whom oppressed within the lands.
See Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 10, for the Tafsir.
And increased therein the corruption.
See Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 10, for the Tafsir.
So your Lord poured upon them a scourge of punishment.
So your Lord unloosed on them the whip of torment. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 13. The punishment inflicted upon them as a result of their mischief is referred to here as a whip of torment. It signifies that just as lashes are inflicted across different parts of the body, the torment these nations received was similar to it in that they suffered different kinds of punishment.
Indeed, your Lord is in observation.
Surely your Lord is ever on the watch. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 14. The word mursad or marsad is derived from the root rasada, which means to lie in wait or on watch. Thus it means an ambush, or a place of observation. It is usually used for a place where persons have to travel through a pass in which someone is lying in wait to strike them. The verse purports to say that Allah is ever watching and observing their movements and activities. No one should think that he could escape divine torment, because all are under his authority and power, and he may administer his punishment whenever he wills. Some commentators state that this verse is the subject of the 5 oaths mentioned taken in the first 5 verses of this surah.
And as for man, when his Lord tries him and thus is generous to him and favors him, he says, "My Lord has honored me."
Wealth and poverty are no signs of one's acceptance or rejection. As for man, when his Lord tests him and thus gives him honor and bounties, he says, "My Lord has honored me." But when he tests him and thus straightens his provision for him, he says, "My Lord has disgraced me." Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 15 to 16. The word man here primarily refers to an unbelieving man who may form any thought about Allah as he feels like, but in its general sense, the word may include a Muslim as well who has the same thought as an unbeliever. When Allah gives abundant wealth and good health to such people, the devil puts into their head 2 false ideas. First, they succumb to their baser instincts, they become haughty and arrogant, and they think that the wealth and health is the result of their superior intellect, personal capability, efforts, and achievement. Secondly, they think that they are enjoying a favorable status with Allah. If they did not enjoy the favorable position with Him, they would not have been granted such an abundance of wealth. By the same token, if Allah curtails their sustenance, i.e., they suffer some degree of poverty, they regard it as a curse from Allah, and complain that He is humiliating or dishonoring them, while they deserved honor and respect. The unbelievers and idolaters do hold such thoughts and ideas, as the Quran has pointed out on many occasions. But it is regrettable that many Muslims nowadays fall into similar ideas. Allah refutes man's belief by the expression "Kalla no, never." The matter is not as he claims. Wealth does not indicate acceptance of a man by Allah, nor does poverty indicate rejection. For indeed Allah gives wealth to those whom He loves, and those whom He does not love. Likewise, He withholds sustenance, wealth from those whom He loves, and those whom He does not love. Often the matter is quite the contrary. Pharaoh the Pharaoh claimed godhead and lordship, yet he never suffered from any headache. Some of prophets were sliced by enemies into 2 pieces with a saw. The Holy Prophet is reported to have said that the poor refugees will enter paradise 40 years before the wealthy muhajirs. Immigrants. Imam Muslim has transmitted it from Abdullah ibn Umar. May Allah be pleased with him, Majari. In another narration, the Holy Prophet is reported to have said that whomever Allah loves, He keeps him away from the worldly luxuries as people keep away their sickly patients from water. Al-Not intermid, he transmitted it on the authority of Qatada ibn Nu'man Majari.
But when he tries him and restricts his provision, he says, "My Lord has humiliated me."
See Surah Al-Fajr, ayat 15, for the Tafsir.
No, but you do not honor the orphan.
Spending on the orphan is not sufficient. Their respect is also necessary. No, but you do not honor the orphan. Surah Al-Fajr, ayat 17. The unbelievers are warned in these verses against some of their evil character traits. First, as is mentioned in this verse, they do not honor and treat the orphans kindly. The basic objective of the verse is that they deprive them of their rights and do not spend on them what is due to them, but the expression used is that they do not honor them, probably to indicate that the requirement of Allah's gratitude, and also of humanitarian sense, is not only that the orphans are given their dues by spending wealth on them, but it is also necessary to honor them and treat them kindly. The guardians should not despise and look down upon their wards, and to discriminate them against their own children. This is apparently a rebuff to the unbelievers who think that wealth is an honor and poverty is a dishonor. After refuting their thoughts and ideas with the expression kala no never, the verse under comment progresses to say but that they are deprived of sustenance, because they squander it in immoral pursuits, depriving the orphans of their rights in it, and do not encourage one another to feed the needy. Surah Al-Fajr, ayat 18. This is the second evil trait of the unbelievers. The style of this verse, in condemning the evil trait of the unbelievers, indicates that it is an obligation of the affluent to spend on the poor and indigent from their own wealth. Obviously, the poor are unable to spend owing to lack of means, but they should at least encourage others to feed the needy.
And you do not encourage one another to feed the poor.
See Surah Al-Fajr, ayat 17, for the Tafsir.
And you consume inheritance, devouring it altogether.
And you devour the inheritance with a sweeping gulp. Surah Al-Fajr, ayat 19, the word lam means to gather, amass, concentrate the thing. This is the third evil trait of the unbelievers, and the verse signifies that they devour inheritance with voracious appetites however they can get it, whether by lawful means or unlawful means. They gather them all together to make a sweeping gulp. When someone passes away, they take their own shares, together with the shares of others, regardless of whether the shares belong to orphans, widows, or people who are absent. As a matter of principle, it is not permitted to mix up lawful and forbidden wealth in any transaction. Here, however, inheritance has been particularly mentioned, probably because having a greedy eye on it and pursuing it are a proof of man's greed and voracity for wealth. He stares at it like a beast of prey waiting for the person to die, and looking for the opportunity to distribute the estate. But an honorable man of principle and a noble person would not look at the wealth of the deceased with greedy eyes.
And you love wealth with immense love.
And love wealth with an excessive love. Surah Al-Fajr, ayah 20. The word jam means excessive. This verse refers to the fourth evil trait of the unbelievers. They have an insatiable love for wealth. The word excessive indicates that love of wealth in itself, in a sober sense, is a natural instinct of man that has not been condemned here. What is denounced is the excessive or insatiable love of wealth. After describing the evil traits of the unbelievers, the passage reverts to the main theme that was emphasized in the earlier part of the surah with 5 oaths, that is, the punishment of the hereafter. In this connection, it first mentions the process of the end of the world, and subsequently the establishment of the day of resurrection. Thus know, when the earth will be crushed thoroughly to be turned into bits. Surah Al-Fajr, ayah 21. The word dak literally means to pound or crush a thing into bits and pieces. This refers to the earthquakes that will crush and ground the mountains to dust. The world will thus be dissolved. This will be the first stage of resurrection. When this stage of resurrection ends, the second stage of resurrection will begin. The word dakan is repeated in order to show that there will be a series of earthquakes before the dissolution of the world.
No, when the earth has been leveled, pounded, and crushed.
See Surah Al-Fajr, ayah 20, for the Tafsir.
And your Lord has come, and the angels rank upon rank.
And your Lord will come, and the angels as well, lined up in rows. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayat 22. They will arrive in the plain of gathering. The words your Lord will come is an allegorical expression. No one besides Allah knows the nature of his coming. The words and the angels will arrive as well, line up in rows, are clear in meaning. And Jahannam, hell, on that day will be brought forward. It will be the day when man will realize the truth, but from where will he take advantage of such realization? Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 23. No one besides Allah knows how exactly hell will be brought forward in the plain of gathering. Apparently, hell, which is at the moment beneath the seventh earth, will at that moment flare up, and the oceans become part of the flame. In this way, hell during the gathering will be in front of all.
And brought within view that day is hell. That day man will remember. But what good to him will be the remembrance?
It will be the day when man will realize the truth, but from where will he take advantage of such realization? The word tadakkar in this context means to realize. The unbelievers will realize the errors of their ways in the hereafter, but it will be too late, because it is this present world where iman and good deeds benefit the people. The hereafter is the place only for reckoning and retribution. Man will express his remorse thus. He will say, "Oh, would that I had sent ahead some good deeds for this my life." Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 24. When he faces the torment of disbelief and idolatry on that day of devastation, man will lament that he should have carried out good deeds and refrained from sin in this world to be safe from punishment in the hereafter. But it will be of no avail. Allah says, so that day, no one can punish like he will punish, nor can anyone shackle like he will shackle. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 26. Having described the torment of the unbelievers, the conclusion of the surah gives cheerful news to the believers that they will be admitted into paradise. Thus it says,
He will say, "Oh, I wish I had sent ahead some good for my life."
See Surah Al-Fajr, Ayat 23 for the Tafsir.
So on that day, none will punish as severely as his punishment.
See Surah Al-Fajr, Ayat 23 for the Tafsir.
And none will bind as severely as his binding of the evildoers.
See Surah Al-Fajr, Ayat 23 for the Tafsir.
To the righteous it will be said, O reassured soul.
O contented soul. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayat 27. Here the soul of the believer is referred to as nafs mut'inna, the contented soul. The word mut'inna literally means calm. It refers to the soul that is peaceful and tranquil as a result of remembrance and obedience of Allah. When he abandons it, he feels restless. This is probably the same soul as is made pure through spiritual exercises and discipline from the evil traits and bad conduct. Obedience of Allah and his remembrance becomes his predisposition. Shariah becomes his nature. Come back to your Lord. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 28. The words come back indicate that his first place was with his Lord, and now he is commanded to go back to him. This confirms the narration that the souls of the believers, together with their book of deeds, will be in Ilion. Ilion is a place on the seventh heaven in the shade of the throne of the most merciful Lord. This is the original resting place of all human souls, from where they are brought out and put into human body. After death, the souls are returned to that place.
Return to your Lord, well pleased and pleasing to him.
Well pleased, well pleasing. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 28. The true believer's soul is well pleased with decrees destined by Allah and his legislative commands, and Allah too is well pleased with his slave. The slaves being pleased with Allah's decrees and injunctions is a sign that Allah is pleased.
And enter among my righteous servants.
So enter among my special servants. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 29. In other words, the contented soul will be addressed compassionately, and first asked to enter the fold of righteous and sincere slaves, and then to enter paradise. This indicates that entry into paradise depends on their being, first and foremost, in the fold of the righteous believers. Then they will enter paradise altogether. This shows that joining the company of the righteous in this world is a sign that he will enter paradise with them. Thus Prophet Suleiman prayed, and admit me, by your mercy, among your righteous slaves. Surah An-Naml, Ayah 19. Prophet Yusuf prayed, and make me join the righteous. Surah Yusuf, Ayah 101. The above supplications indicate that the company of the righteous is such a great blessing that even the holy prophets cannot do without. As a result, they pray for it.
And enter my paradise.
and enter my paradise. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 30. In this verse, paradise is attributed to Allah, and Allah said, my paradise. This is a great honor, and indicates that paradise will not only have all sorts of eternal comfort, but above all it is a place of Allah's pleasure. The preceding verses describe the reward of the believers in such a manner that on behalf of Allah, the angels will address their souls honorably and in a befitting manner, as in the verses. It is not clear when they will be addressed. Some commentators say that they will be addressed on the day of reckoning, after the reckoning is over. The context of the verses confirms this. The punishment of the unbelievers was described above. That will take place in the hereafter after the judgment has been passed. It is obvious that the believers will be addressed at the same time. Other scholars indicate that the believers will be addressed in this world at the time of death. Many authentic traditions bear testimony to the veracity of this view. Ibn Kathir, on the other hand, reconciles the apparently conflicting statements thus: Allah will address the soul of the believers twice with these words, once at the time of death, and again on the day of judgment. Sayyid ibn Samit's narration cited earlier supports the view that the address will be at the time of death. In a lengthy narration of Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, recorded in Musnad of Ahmad, Nasai and Ibn Majah, the Holy Prophet said, when death approaches a believer, the angels of mercy bring to him a piece of white silk and say, come out from this body, well pleased and well pleasing, to divine mercy and to the eternal comforts of paradise, to the end of narration. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, says that one day he recited the verse contented soul in the presence of the Holy Prophet. Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, who was present in the assembly, said, O Allah's Messenger, what a fine address and honor. The Holy Prophet said, behold, the angel will address you thus after your death. A few strange incidents. Said Ibn Jubair reports that Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, passed away in Taif. After the funeral was prepared, a strange bird, the like of which was never seen before, came and entered the body, but no one saw it coming out of it. When it was lowered into the grave for burial, an invisible voice was heard reciting from the side of the grave. Everyone looked around, but could not find anyone. Another incident is recorded by Hafiz Tabarani in his book Kitabul Ajib. He narrates with his chain of authorities an incident about Fatin ibn Rays and Abu Hashim, that once they were imprisoned in a Roman city. They were presented before their king. The king was an infidel. He coerced them to adopt his religion, and threatened them that if anyone refuses to comply with his command, he would be beheaded. They were a few people. 3 of them feared for their lives, adopted his religion, and thus became apostates. The 4th person refused to adopt the king's religion. He was beheaded, and his head was thrown into a nearby river. When it was thrown, the head went to the bottom of the river. Later, it emerged from the water and came to the surface. Then it looked at the other 3 persons, and calling each one of them by name, recited, O contented soul, 27, come back to your Lord. Well pleased, well pleasing, 28, so enter among my special servants, 29, and enter paradise. 30. After that it dived back into the water. This was an unusual incident which everyone witnessed and heard. When the Christians of that place witnessed this, almost all of them embraced Islam, which shook up the king's throne. The 3 persons who had become apostates reverted to Islam. Caliph Abu Ja'far Mansur had them all released from their enemy's prison.